Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much for having me on, Michaela. I mean, I just feel beyond honored. So,
Thank you for hopping on. I really appreciate it. I know it's late over in the East Coast, so I appreciate you getting on so
no,
late.
that's okay. I'm actually in Montana right now, so it's only 7:30 over here.
Oh, that's right, because for Christmas, are you home? Love
Yep.
it. So first, I just want you to introduce yourself. I feel like a lot of people haven't really gotten to know your story and how you were introduced to the business and your background of why you joined. So if you could just introduce yourself and give that background real quick, then we'll get into the training.
Yeah, for sure. So, first of all, again, thanks for having me, you guys. Michaela and Gage have been somebody who I've looked up to literally since day one. I have been here about just over a year. I think I started August of last year, so a year and a couple months. I literally was in the business for 7 days and drove from Phoenix, Arizona over to Dallas. Michaela and Gage were like two of the very first people I ever met in the business. And so looked up to you guys ever since day one. But before this, I was doing medical transportation for people who get organ transplants. It was definitely very, very different. And I just felt like I was kind of capped out. And I saw Miss Ashley Gronberg's Instagram story from a friend of a friend of a friend. Didn't follow her, didn't know anything about FFL, and basically was like, too good to be true, scam, lie. And then reached out to her, and basically I quit my job and jumped all in from day one, and have just been trying to hammer it since then. So it's been a joy.
Yeah, I love that story because I do remember you saying that. You're like, I just felt like I was capped. I was complacent. I wasn't like, it wasn't challenging me at all. And I truly feel that because there's so many times in like so many people's corporate roles where they just feel like they're living life through the motions, like doing the same thing every single day and not challenging themselves and not like bettering themselves. And that's one thing that's really cool about being a business owner and entrepreneur is every day you get to learn and you get to grow and you get to get out of your comfort zone every single day. So I love that. And that was one thing I loved about your story. So one of the things I would love for you to elaborate on, because I feel like our teams have been doing something very similar, is I've seen all of your agents are hopping on Zooms together and doing like telesales and live transfers, hybrid approach with like virtual selling and going in home. So I wanted you to kind of elaborate on how you guys are structuring that and getting your people on that and how you're kind of growing together with the hybrid approach.
Yeah, for sure. So I think just like you said, Michaela, we're kind of trying to follow your guys' lead as well. When the virtual sales came out, I think a little bit, we didn't embrace it. Our agency specifically didn't embrace it as soon as we could have, because it's hard sometimes as a leader I'm not very good at it. So it was like, if I'm not doing it, it's hard to embrace that for other people. And so I dipped my toes in the water, did some live transfers, and I felt like we were behind the ball on all the people at FFL. And you guys, there's a lot of them that just for whatever reason, they don't like the field. They didn't do well in the field. They struggled. Maybe they have maybe they're a single mom and they have kids, or so Michaela, it's helped us a lot. So a couple weeks in, I ended up just having to kind of give up the fact of, virtual sales is harder and this and this and that, and just be really open and honest about the fact about, hey guys, I'm really probably not the best at it and I don't really know what I'm doing, but let's embrace all the training that we have here. So and it's worked for a lot of people. We have some people who weren't field bunnies, for lack of other words, and they now are really, really successful, and they're finding their home in the virtual sales. So what we did is we had our domination dials up Mondays and Thursdays, and now we've basically just launched it for every day. So now I feel like it's holding a lot of people accountable as well, to be like, if I'm not in the field, I'm either in the field, I'm dialing on live, or I'm selling virtual on live. So it's kind of we're booking appointments together and training together. And also, like, if we get someone on the phone that we can sell over the phone, then we're also, sort of doing that out loud. And we've had a lot more new agents, and a lot of agents that I think felt maybe pushed away from the field business be able to come back in and make money like they weren't making before, and also just feel more accepted. So I think that's been huge for us as well. Because Michaela, I had a couple people even say that, like we felt like we weren't allowed to do virtual sales on domination dials.
Yes.
And they're kind of doing their own thing. And it's like, no, you can, just because we don't know how to do it doesn't mean you can't do it here. So
Right.
we've just been trying to embrace everybody. And the accountability thing's been huge for us, as far as like, all right, guys, dial day is not just Monday and Thursdays. Now dial day is every single day of your life. So, and I mean, we're on it all the time. Sundays, it's up. The link is just open. So we've been really good about leaders on our team. If I'm not on it, it might be you blasting saying, hey, I'm on dials today. Everyone, let's get on, let's dial appointments. So it's been pretty much nonstop. It's been helping a lot.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of your agents. Chris, I follow her and she's always so funny on there. I love how you guys cheer each other on too. That's something that our team has loved, just growing together by cheering each other on. I see that in your guys' team as well. So I remember you mentioning you had gotten into live transfers and you were in the VP chat. You had mentioned how you're like, well, profitability wise. So like, that's what I wanted to talk to you about, breaking down. We all know how to buy leads, dial leads, sell appointments, but with the live transfers, a lot of people have been taking that approach. But how are you kind of budgeting how many live transfers you should have per week, or if you're not having enough, you're just dialing like internet leads? How are you kind of structuring that to make sure you're still selling at a high level with virtual selling?
Yeah. So I think that's a really good question. I think that's been huge. So right when the live transfers came out, right, everybody's jumping on them. So it's like, just like with like brand new mortgage leads, there's not going to be enough for every single agent to only have that one sort of lead flow. So I think when live transfers came out, everyone was like, oh, I want to do them. And it's like, that's amazing. And they're great, from a profitability standpoint, they work, they're wonderful. We do really well, but like, we need to have backup options as well. So for me to be able to get live transfers, I have like 29 states turned on and 2 different vendors. So what I found, Michaela, and I don't know if it's different for other people, what I have found is that the live transfers are literally just like the lead map. Like, you can't expect to just turn live transfers on in Arizona and Florida and think that you're going to get them. It's also the same thing like with working hours, like from 9 to 5, guys, everyone's turning on their live transfers. So if you can find a time to work when you think other people aren't working, like the evenings and the weekends are huge. And to be honest, actually yesterday and today, because I've been on Montana time, I've been forgetting that I have my live transfers turn on to 8 Central because I'm usually on Eastern time. So actually yesterday and today, 7 a.m., boom, live transfer came in right away. And I was like freaking out. I was literally like running out of the shower, coming down. Like, yeah,
I do that too.
Yeah. And I was like, shoot, I forgot I left them on, and they've been flowing in because no one's turning them on at 7 a.m. Mountain time. People are turning them on at 8, 9, 10. So with the live transfer specifically, you're going to have to do, get more states if you can. So that way you can get more. And then just, you're going to have to find different times. And then, so during those working hours, when I'm not getting as many live transfers, Michaela, something that we've been promoting really heavy in our agency is this, I don't know why I just randomly called it lead squeeze, but we've been calling it lead squeeze because
I've seen that.
Yeah, because I think FFL is such an amazing, like, we have such a good lead system, but we almost like become lead junkies. So you buy your batch of leads, and I see new agents doing this too. Like, you're not going to come out of the gate really good on the phones. So as a new agent, you buy 100 instant internet leads, you dial them one time, and then you're like, I didn't book any appointments. Like, sorry, like, let me get some new ones. And then you've all of a sudden invested $2-3 grand in leads, and you're like, I didn't get anything. And then, we might have people like decide to quit the company or whatever because they're like, it doesn't work. So I think we set a bad expectation around leads sometimes when it's like, just keep buying new ones, keep buying new ones, keep buying new ones. Like, no. So what we've been doing is hashtag lead squeeze, where you should be dialing your leads again 2-3 weeks later. I have sold everything that I sold this week. Outside of one live transfer came from like a 4-month-old Hawaii lead that I actually bought another agent who ended up quitting. So it's like, we have so many leads in our CRM that most of them didn't sell, or we didn't talk to them, or we didn't shuffle them around for agents. And the reality is, more than like it not being a budget and money thing, is like those clients still need protection. They still need help. Like, everyone that I sold this week that was like 3-4 months old, they're like, oh, no one ever called me. And I'm like, yeah, I called you 3 months ago. And they're like, I never got the call. Like, I don't know. Or maybe they were going through something that was different at the time. Maybe they were mad, they didn't answer the phone. Maybe they were on vacation, so they called and hung up on you right away. And now is a different time in their life. So something we've been doing is really squeezing those 1 and 3-month-old leads, and also leads that you bought 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago, even a year ago. I had somebody today who was dialing 7-month-old leads, and he's got 20 appointments. No objection. Like, they were like, we don't really remember filling it out, but technically we do need it. So we've been, every time we sell a fairly old lead, more than 3 months, we're calling it lead squeeze. And we've had a lot of agents say, I got in such a bad habit of just buying more leads that I was wasting so many of these. So that's what we've been doing. That's the exact same thing I've been doing. I have my live transfers turned on, and in the middle of the live transfers, I'm not buying a lot of new leads. I am going back through my CRM. And from when I first got here, Michaela, because the reality is I wasn't very good on the phones too. So now you got better also.
Yeah, it's true.
You got better than when you dialed your first batch of leads. And now you are better at overcoming the objections they are giving you. So I think there's a lot of premium left on the table that new agents should go back in, and any agents, us ourselves included, should go back in and get.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I saw you post about that. You were like, I just called a lead that I bought like a year ago, and they called and sold it over the phone, one call closed. Like that's so huge. Like that from a profitability standpoint is huge. You're so right. Like FFL does great about promoting leads, because we need leads. We need people to get in front of. But if we have all these unresolved leads and we're buying new ones and not making our money back on the other ones, then we're only just putting ourselves on a hole. So like we need to remember that these people, even if they don't answer the phone right then or say no right then, doesn't mean no forever. It means no right now. Or maybe they get annoyed. They just fill out a form and got 30,000 calls and they're like, screw this, I don't want to do it. And 3 months later you call them and they're like, you're right, I still haven't gotten this taken care of and I need to get it done. So I love that. That's such a huge way to make sure we're resolving them.
Just to add to that real quick, not to cut you off, but you and I have talked before about how we have been really bad about buying new agents leads. So now from an agency building standpoint, I was so bad about that. Like I was bleeding myself dry because I wanted people to win so bad that like whatever they needed, like if they even remotely complained about not having a budget for leads, I would just buy them new leads. So I have, thousands of leads in my CRM that I just bought for new agents that either didn't work them or I felt bad, or maybe I bought them for myself and I remember. So now when somebody asks me for leads, you know what I say? I say I have 80,000 leads in my CRM. What state do you want? And I'm like, you guys, like, you can work older leads. You can work leads that I didn't work. You can work leads that I did work or other agents work. And here's the other thing. And I know, some of our other leaders talk about this a lot. If people didn't get insurance from you, it might just be they didn't like you. So I've had where I dial 100 leads and I maybe don't do very well. And then a week later, I kick those same leads off to a new agent and they're like, I booked 20 appointments. And I'm like, Kristen Perry, I know you brought her up like a couple of weeks ago. Kristen's like, hey, she brought up this client and she was like, oh, she was really rude to me or something like that. And I was like, that name like really rings a bell. And I was like, Kristen, where did you get that lead? And she's like, oh, out of your CRM. I'm like, oh, you have my password? She's like, yeah, I've just been dialing all your old leads for like the past 2 months. And I didn't even know. So it's like leads that I couldn't or didn't do a very good job with. She's been selling them. They connected with her better. She did a better job. And she's been selling a lot. So we've been trying to shuffle around leads a lot too. Maybe I had a bad day. Maybe the clients that I was calling had a bad day. So now I can give them to Michaela and you do really well on them. So we've just been lead squeeze all the way. Live transfers as well. One call closes on 3-month-old leads and, giving them the option now. Hey, we can come out to your house, or if you want to do this right now, grab a pen and paper.
I love that. I love you give them options. You take the path of least resistance. And then if they're available, then do it on the phone right then and there. Cause I've done it so many times where I'm like, oh, I'll call you at 5 when you're home from work, and they don't answer the phone. So they have 15 minutes, just do it right then and there and get it done. Another question I wanted to ask you was in regards to when you first came in, you were guns a-blazing, going all over the country, traveling, doing whatever you had to do to make it work. And I remember you saying to like Gage and I, you were like, this is it for me. Like, I'm going to make this work. So what was it about FFL that made you want to go all in and made you realize like, this is it for me? Because I feel like a lot of people are on the fence with that.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing, and Michaela, we can talk about comp. We know we have the best comp. We can talk about leads. We know we had the best leads. I think for me specifically and personally, it was the fact that in no way, shape, or form at FFL, like, can you be controlled, right? Like you can't be controlled on your income. Like only you can control it. So I just saw the opportunity, because here's where I was at my old job. It was like, if I work harder than anybody else here, I'm still not going to make any more money than they are. So I'm very competitive, and I firmly believe that people should get what they work for. So for me, it was like, you can work hard, and I've been that way in sports too, right? Like when I first came to college in Phoenix, I was running Division 1 track, and the reality of some situations is that I could go to practice 9 hours a day. I wasn't going to have the genetics of the girl next to me who sometimes didn't have to come to practice, and she was going to jump higher than me straight up. Like you know what I mean? Like she's got
Hmm.
genetics. She can work half as hard as me, and that's the reality of life. And
Yeah.
so I think for FFL, because I didn't come from insurance or sales, so I didn't really necessarily understand the, like, we have the highest comp. I didn't know what that meant because I didn't have comp in my old job. Like, I wasn't necessarily, it was the leads or the best. Now I understand all that. But when I first started and I was like, this is it for me, it was because I saw the opportunity that no one could control it, and no one, you can't put the blame on anybody else. If you don't make any money, it's a problem with you, not a problem with the system. Because
Yep.
Michaela's not doing anything that I couldn't do. Gage is not doing anything that I can't do. Like, you can just do it. It's only on you 100%. So it was like, I love that because it was so much accountability that I was like, I could take this to anywhere. Like when I look at Grady's agency or Andrew Taylor's agency, I don't look at it and think like, oh, well, that's Andrew Taylor, so I can't get there. I'm like, we can all do that. So I think a lot of times for people who are on the fence, Michaela, and this is what I've come to realize, is that it's mostly all in their head. Like, it's not
Yeah.
about the comp, it's not about the leads, it's about the fact that the opportunity here is completely 100% on you, and you can excel it, and you can build up everything you ever wanted and create like, there's just no opportunity like it. And
Right.
if you decide not to do that, the blame is not on anybody else. So I think for me, that was the most attractive thing. And I can't think of a better opportunity or a place where you can do that and also do it so quickly. Like,
Yeah.
I used to want to go into law enforcement, and that was my path before I got my other job. Like, I was like, I'm going to be a law enforcement officer. I'm going to promote. I want to be a detective. And even that, if I had gone that route, which I still have all the love in the world for it, but it's like, I would have been 3, 4, 5 years in, and guess where my pay would be right now? Like, it's,
The
you know what I mean?
same.
It's the same.
Yeah.
So I think that was the biggest thing for me, is just the complete, like, this is your ticket to create your own destiny 100%.
Yeah. No, I love you brought up that point because that's something like Gage and I are both really competitive. And I always was like, I've been in sales, I've been corporate sales for 3 years. And I was like, oh, I'm going to come into FFL and I'm going to smoke Gage. Like, I know how to sell, I know how to do this and that. And then Gage's work ethic is way better than mine, and his like discipline and things is so much better than mine. So guess who beat me every single month? Gage. So that's the truth. Like, doesn't matter what skills you have or what you think you have. It really comes down to who's going to work harder, who's going to put in the time, who's going to, obviously everyone's situation is a little bit differently, but that is the majority of it, is your work ethic. So I love that you brought that up. So one of the last questions I want to ask, and I'll let you guys hop off here, was about when you were growing an agency. I know you and I have talked about like growing and selling at the same time, like that structure. And I know you've always been pretty disciplined about your schedule. What does your like day-to-day or week kind of look like with trying to build on top of selling and, leading your team from the front?
Yeah, so I think a lot of that, and it's like, we're still learning every day. Like Michaela and I, we still talk on the phone, like, are you doing this? Because like, this is what I'm trying to do, and like, what's up? Is it working? Is it not? But so
Right.
I think it's still a process, but it took a while. So it was, selling at a high level, and then a lot of people feel like I don't have time to recruit and build while I'm selling, and a lot of that, or then you start to do both, and you're like, I just don't have time to do it all. I can't work both muscles at once. And what I found with that, Michaela, is all of that is the fact that you have too many outside influences. It's not in the business, because if you put 100% of your effort into the business 7 days a week or 6 days a week, you want to have Sunday off, I get that completely. But if you do that, there's more than basically enough time in the day. So the problem was, when I was saying I don't have time to sell and recruit, it was because I was probably going out on the weekends. So I didn't have time to sell and recruit. And then I was hanging out with really negative people who didn't believe in what I was doing. So I didn't have time to sell and recruit. I could sell, and then all my other energy was spent on dumb stuff that didn't have anything to do with my life. And then I could sell. So everything, I think, when now I've realized, because I used to be the same way, well, it's too much. But it's because now I'm focused 100% on the business, and everything that I do, I truly believe every single day right now, I try to, I'm obviously not perfect, has to do with the business no matter what. So if I'm up in the morning, I'm trying to, work out as early as I can, because I think that's really important to do things that are healthy for yourself. But it's like I'm on the treadmill and I'm messaging people like on Instagram to get the recruiting calls going for the day, or I'm messaging my staff like, this is what we need to do today. And then boom, 8 a.m. I'm either on dials and I'm on the Zoom call all day long if I'm not in the field, whatever that means. That might be I'm dialing, that might be I'm on a live transfer, or I might just be on the Zoom call with the team, but I'm doing recruiting calls or I'm handling other stuff with the staff. And then if I still am in the field two to 3 to 4, depending on my lead flow, depending on, but I'm still in the field as well. So I think the thing is, when people are trying to find out what to balance, it's because you haven't cut the other negative things out of your life. And they don't necessarily have to be negative, but they are sacrifices that you have to make. I think when you want to sell at a high level, when you want to sell 30K a month and build an agency to a high level, the reality is you don't have time for other stuff. You have to sacrifice the time with your friends, who actually most of the people probably don't believe in you and don't believe in what you're doing. So maybe they're not your friends. I think that was a big thing for me too, is a lot of like negative talk with these people that I thought were my friends, right? So they're talking you out of it. And they're saying, Marissa, you're working too hard. You're working so hard. All you do is work.
All the time. Yeah.
All you do is work. You're not going to come to the wedding with us this weekend. You worked last weekend. You're not going to come out to dinner with us and get a drink with us. You did that last weekend. Like, you have to. And you start to feed into it and you're like, yeah, actually, you know what? I am working too hard. You're right. And then you just go backwards, when the reality, those people are not rooting for you. They should be like, yeah, do your thing. We understand you got to work. Like, you have goals, like we support you. And so I think a lot of times, if you think you don't have time to sell at a high level and recruit, it's just because you're focused on outside stuff. But if you are selling and dialing and focusing on your own, and leading your team, then that's kind of really the only example that you can give your team. And that's the best thing you can do for your team. And it's definitely doable. I mean, there's 24 hours in a day. You should sleep for like 6. That's a lot of hours left.
No, that's a really good point, because I definitely feel that. I know a lot of people probably on here felt that too, is like, not everyone in our friend group or, our peers outside of FFL know what it's like to be an entrepreneur and run a business. They don't. They've never done it.
They're not going to get it, and they're not going to support it. So you have to stop. You have to accept that they're not going to. You're not going to change their mind. So stop trying to change their mind. They're always going to think you work too much. They're always going to think you never spend any time with your friends and family. They're always going to think you're sacrificing too much. But in the reality, this is our 2-year plan. This is our 2-year plan. And in 2 years, you're going to look at them, they're going to be in the same place that they were. And you're going to be like, cool, now I have time to hang out. And guess what? I have millions of dollars because of all the times I said no. So I think that for me was the biggest thing about balancing it, is I think it's 100% doable. I feel like even I could do more. Sometimes I wake up every day and I'm like, I didn't do enough yesterday. Like, I should have done more. I should have recruited more people. I should have called more people. I should have helped more clients. I should have sold more on the phone. I got distracted doing this. And again, I think that's all in your head. And you just have to decide, like, people say like work-life balance, and work-life balance is for people who want to work for 40 years. We're not trying to work for 40 years. We're trying to work for 3. Really, really hard to get where we want to be. And then, so the rest of our life is freedom. So there's no balance. It should be work, work, work for 3 years. And so I've just sort of switched that.
I love that. That's a huge point. My mom was one of the people, like, when Gage and I went to my sister's wedding, Gage and I were outside at the Airbnb, like making dials, making calls. My whole family was like judging us from inside, saying like, you guys just work way too hard. You guys work so hard. And now that my mom's in the business, she even said to me, she like apologized. She's like, oh my gosh, I totally get why you guys are so obsessed with this. I was like, yeah, I know, because you see the opportunity now and you actually know, like, there's no cap on your income. You literally get to go help people every single day. Like, you get the opportunity to grow a business for yourself. It's not like you're going to work to clock in and clock out on someone else's dream. Like, you clock in and clock out on your dream. So you should be clocked in all day.
Yeah, that's funny you bring that up, because now my mom actually very recently is like, Marissa, can I help like dial the phone for you? And I'm like, oh, now you want to join? She's like, I'll help you. She's like, I'll help you call your leads. I'm like, okay, sounds good, Mom. Here they are.
I love it. Once they see like that, they know this is real for you, they'll start to support you more. But right now they think like you're going off a whim or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. But does anyone else like have any specific questions for Marissa before I have her hop off? If you do, just put one in the chat. If not, I would love to see you guys on the Zoom room tomorrow. I'll give it like 2 seconds to see if anyone else has some.
Well, Michaela, thank you so much for having me on. I mean, you guys are absolutely crushing it. I just feel honored. You guys, when you did our team call completely, like everyone was fired up. You engage are two of the people that have like the most passion I've ever seen for this business. Luke said, what dialer system? I just use phone burner.
Burner. And they
Yeah.
said break down your lead flow again.
Yeah. Or also I do have a Ring Central account for if I'm dialing mailers so that I could get the other phone number and all that stuff.
Yeah,
And burner.
too.
I do actually use burner as well because I need like 16 different phone numbers at one time.
Right.
So my lead flow right now, I don't run any mortgage. So I am one of the few people in the
I knew
FFL.
you never ran mortgage. Yeah.
Yeah, so I started with it and I think people, it's a presentation. I respect everybody who does mortgage because it's like it's an art form. I truly believe that. So I love final expense. So I run when I'm home in Florida and I'm in my specific county because it's the only one I have, I run final expense mailers and that's what I run right now in the field. So if there's days I'm in the field, it's because I'm running final expense mailers probably 2 days a week. Everything out of that right now is virtual sales. I turn them on every other day that I'm not in the field, dial days, weekends, and I try to really stay on early in the morning and at nighttime when not as many people are on. And then if the live transfers aren't coming in, then I'm just dialing like tons of leads out of my CRM and trying to one call close them. So 3-month-old, 5-month-old, 10-month-old internet leads, whatever it might be. And then if I get somebody on the phone that's ready to buy, will pause the live transfers. So
I love that. And then do you have any like tips, I guess, for a brand new agent? Because you were one of the very few that came out and sold, where was it, 22K you sold your first, something around 20K, I remember your first month. For a brand new agent, what would you say is like the best advice to get going fast?
yeah, so I think the first thing is, again, I'm a big person on get like everything out of your head and realize that you should just be a sponge. So that you don't know anything and that's okay. So I think there's two things that happen, Michaela, as a new agent, that you either hold yourself back because you want to know so much and you let the products hold you back. Like, I don't know all the products. I don't know what to do on the Americo app. I don't even know what to say on the phone, or let me role play. I think role playing phone scripts is like the weirdest thing, because why don't you just role play with some like 4-month-old leads and maybe you book an appointment? You know what I mean? So we don't do, and I've switched that a lot very recently. Like people are like, can you role play the script with me? I'm like, no, just call a person and role play it with them. Cause then it's real life. And what if you get lucky and you book an appointment? So I think the first thing is don't plan to know everything. Just go hit it hard. Like the best way for you to learn anything is just to do it. It's the same thing with literally anything in your life. So I'm a big fan of don't get ready to get ready to get ready to get ready. And we're working through that with some agents right now. Like, I need a product breakdown. I'm like, Americo Eagle, that's your product breakdown. Let's go. So I think just getting it out of your head that you need to know everything before you start and just go. And also, as you're doing that, Michaela, rely on the people around you. Like, I mean, you guys know Betty Jo Scott. She she writes 25K
Yes.
in a week. She's been in the business 3 months, guys. She calls me in every single home. And she's like, I'm so sorry for calling you in every home. I should probably learn the products by now. And I'm like, it's fine. You write 25K a week. Call me whenever you want. So I think a lot of new agents, they think that they're bothering agency managers. Like, I don't want to bother
Yes.
Agent Michaela. I don't want to bother Cody. He writes 30K a week. Like, I just don't want to bother him. He's busy. Like, bother people. That's what we're here for. So
Right.
if you're a new agent and you think that you're going to be bothering anybody with your questions or getting in a home, just ask for help. Like, everyone at some point in this business, there's a different levels. Everyone's been where you've been at. So don't expect to know anything. Run into the wall and fix it later. Break it and fix it later. You know what I mean? I'd rather a new agent go into a policy and be like, I think I wrote everything down wrong on the app. And then just be like, well, I need to know this. I need to know this. I need to know this. So just hit it really, really hard. Bother your managers that they work here and they get paid an override. So they're here to help you.
Literally. Yes.
And fix it later if it's broken. So just stop getting ready to get ready and just go at it. That's what I did. I was like, you want me to drive to Dallas? Who's this Gage and Michaela person? Okay, we'll drive. And I was like at your house in my first 3 days of the business. And I was like, okay, cool. We're at Gage and Michaela's. I don't have any idea who they are. But so I think just trust yourself and trust your managers. And that's the best way you can go.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so, so much, Marissa. Your team is exploding. I love seeing all you guys cheering each other on. So keep doing what you're doing. And we'll be cheering you on as well.
Well, thank you so much. We'll be chasing you. You guys had a monster month. You guys have a team of killers. Your guys' culture, I can tell you, Michaela, is something that not a lot of agencies have. And you guys should be really, really proud of the culture of support and love and just like everybody as one unit that you guys have going on. So
Appreciate that.
we're trying to create that and follow in your guys' footsteps. But thank you so much, guys.